Hi, I'm Jon Haber, and this is my gear story, part 2. Gear stories. Having a lot of fun doing these. Okay, so here's my gear story. Playing guitar my whole life nearly. I saved money one summer by mowing lawns to save up $30 to buy a used electric guitar from the guy down the road. It was a Sam Goody something. Used to be able to go to the mall, and they all had guitars hanging on the wall. What distinguished those stores from real music stores was there was always a string missing from the guitar. It didn't matter what guitar it was, something was always wrong with something. Either a tuning peg was cracked off, or a string was off, but that was like kind of their thing. Anyway, so I saved the money, I got this guitar. I had no amp for about a year. I used to go to my friend Ira's house, and his mom had a Califone, which was a record player. A portable record player, but it had an input jack on it. So you were able to take an electric guitar, a regular 1/4-inch line cable, plug it into the input jack, and it actually would sound pretty cool. And it would overdrive somewhat easy, so you can get a nice sound out of it. Eventually got my own amp. I had lost track of what happened to this amp for, I don't know, 35, 40 years, who knows. Now I'm gonna fast forward now like 25 years. I get called to the original Alto music in Rockland County to go in and help with a few things. So I'm going through the back stock room, seeing what's cooking, and there's walls and walls of guitars, used guitars, and they're all rental guitars. Back in the 70s and the 80s, we used to actually rent guitars because it was very hard to get any guitar that was affordable. Things were much more expensive relative to what we have now, as you know, things are made all over the world and costs have actually come down. So I'm going through these used guitars, and most of them are just crappy, beat up nylon strings from the 70s, and it was pretty much just garbage. But then I see an electric guitar case there. I open up the guitar case, I pull it out, I open it up, and I'm like, I know that guitar. I know whose guitar it was. I know how Alto got it. This is unbelievable. So it was an Ibanez double cut. My buddy from 8th grade, Eric Thier, it was his guitar. And he had traded it in for a Fender P-Bass in like 1981. And that guitar has been sitting on that shelf. This was 2005, so it was 24 years it was sitting back there. So I got the guitar, I lost track of my friend, but his brother had called me regarding something else, you know, a few years prior. So I called his brother, Craig. I go, Craig, where's your brother living? And he gives me address. So I just FedExed him the guitar. He didn't even know it was coming. And all of a sudden I got a call, dude, my guitar, how did you? This guitar was an Ibanez, like I said. I remember him calling me when he got it. He wasn't even familiar what Ibanez was. He goes, yeah, my dad got me this guitar. It's an INDONESE or some Indiana. Like he didn't know what, there was like a script writing on the headstock. He didn't even know what the thing, I go, dude, is that an Ibanez? Like we were all excited, this is a big deal. I remember him getting that guitar. So now he has his guitar back, you know, all these years later, like 25 years later. So we kept in touch from that episode. And maybe 5 years later, we're talking about something, I don't remember what it was. He goes, you know, I have your Fender amp. I go, really? How? Yeah, you sold it to me for like 30 bucks in 8th grade. I go, you gotta be kidding me. He goes, I'm sending it back to you. So all of a sudden, I have an amp that I hadn't seen. This was 40 something year, you know, 40, a long time. And here it is. This amp, the Fender Vibrochamp. I hated this amp when I had it as a kid. I hated it. Because now I'm getting a little older, I'm into Kiss, I'm into Zeppelin, I want to hear cook, 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 and this thing is clean. Somebody had given me or someone was throwing out, probably was more likely in the neighborhood, 2 15-inch woofers. And I got my father to take me to a lumber store, and I built like a dual 15 cabinet. I used to sit this thing on top and run in series off the speakers into this cabinet so I can, it didn't really do much except just give me a bigger appearance. But there was maybe a 10-minute time frame. And all of a sudden I hear, ooh, this warm, beautiful, fuzzy tone. I go, whoa! Then the amp blew up. I was actually pushing it too much, and the thing blew up. And I ended up getting a new amp, and but now I got this thing back. It's awesome. It's my favorite amp I have. I love the sound of it. It's great. So it just goes to show you, I did something good for someone, gave him his guitar back on out, and he got it back. It's like a Seinfeld episode when he loses 20 bucks and he finds 20 bucks, like everything evens out. That's my gear story, and I'm sticking to it.